Hello everyone, thank you for watching today's video. Please like, share, and check out the author Hinakami in the description. And with that, let's begin. Chapter 29, Quirk Training and Finals. Third POV. Toshi and Izuku both returned to UA. They found Gran Torino waiting in Nezu's office for them when they entered. "Hey, Grandpa Torino, how are you?" Izuku asked. Gran Torino said he was fine but wanted to talk about the new quirk. "Yeah, it's Nana's or the seventh quirk. After I went to sleep that night, I have another vision. This time it was far more detailed and I got a lot of information out of it as well," Izuku stated. They then talked about the dream inside OFA. "It was weird. I found myself in line with 7 other people, so there were 8 of us in total. Then, I saw them, the first wielder and all for one from the past. They were both inside OFA," Izuku stated. "As I watched them, I realized what was happening. It was the memories of the first wielder when the quirk of one for all was born into this world," Izuku stated. "Most of my body was covered in mist, but far less than last time. I was nearly fully there and could move, but I was held back for some reason. I think it was the other users stopping me at that moment. I watched as AFO and OFA fought and the quirk was forced onto the first wielder. Then he reached out to me. He said hello ninth. Then I found myself in front of him and Nana," Izuku stated. They talked about how OFA had reached the singularity point and all these quirks were coming out of one for all since they were syncing up to my desires. It happened with the body control, but they now know what is happening in full this time around. I will receive all the quirks of the previous users if my will syncs up to them. They said the core of one for all is starting to grow stronger and they don't know what will happen now," Izuku said. However, Izuku had a terrifying thought that he didn't want to consider possible. If the stockpiling power also passed the base quirk of AFO, then, dear God, I hope it doesn't happen. Izuku thought since OFA is being passed due to the first user's quirk and the stockpiling is what's pulling the energy and the quirks along. Soon the conversation came to an end and they decided on a training plan. Izuku would train with Gran Torino and get Izuku ready for the final exams where he would fight All Might in a no-rules match. The first to give up or be called out due to wounds is the loser. Time skip. Izuku was avoiding his dad when it was time to train. Since he was going to fight him in a no-holding-back match, Izuku was coming up with new tricks with all of his quirks. He was getting good with the training with Gran Torino at using float. He used body control to manipulate float to better control his flying. He then used OFA to give float the speed boost by kicking off in the air and causing the float quirk to become a flying quirk for the most part. Gran Torino was impressed that Izuku was starting to use it on the same level as Nana did. He had some flaws and errors in his usage, but Gran Torino still saw the speed he was learning at and was really impressed. Now it was time for the final week to start. The members of Wano were wondering what Izuku has been doing. They know he's been training for the finals like them, but they all thought it was robots. How wrong they were. The day of the final was here and they did all their written tests throughout the week. Izuku was taking his tests for all of his second-year classes and had passed them. This left him with only third-year course material left since Nezu was a slave driver when it came to his education. As everyone was walking into the control room for their physical exam, they noticed all of the teachers were there. "Hello, students," stated Nezu as he appeared out of their teacher Eraserhead scarf. "Welcome to your final exam where you will fight the teachers. Now I've broken you into groups," Nezu said as he showed the teams. The students noticed Izuku wasn't on a team and they asked, "Oh yes, that. Even the staff doesn't know," Nezu said as All Might jumped down and yelled his tagline, "I'm here to fight Izuku," All Might said, and all the students and staff freaked out about one student going against All Might. Soon Nezu explained the rules and how they would wear weights. He also explained that the All Might fight would be a no-rules match and how it would go. The students seemed to tense at their classmate fighting a no-holding-back match against the symbol of peace, but Nezu just waved them off. Time skip. Third POV. The matches went for the most part as people thought they would. Most students passed the exam, but a few failed. They were all waiting on the last round to start and some were worried. Nezu, however, just grabbed some popcorn and started to eat it. Everyone thought he was crazy until they felt the building shake. "Dear God," everyone yelled out as they saw the TVs that showed the exam site. Izuku POV. I entered the exam site with Dad. He was on one side while I was on the other side. We didn't even wait for the single to start. The moment we entered, we powered up to 100% for each of us and started a slugfest. The destruction was large around us. Buildings went straight down due to us hitting at 100%. Dad, though, was being pushed back since my 100% is 10% more powerful with just OFA. If I add body control into it and control my muscles, I can push my powers to be 20% more powerful than his 100%. I could feel the strain of my body pushing 120%. Good thing Dad had me keep training. Otherwise, 120% would start fracturing my bones, I thought. Soon I changed up my fighting style. I powered up float and went into the air and then came back down quickly with a kick to the ground. This caused about a 2-block area of the ground to break apart and made some buildings fall. Dad grabbed me by an arm and attempted to throw me. As he let go of me, I just activated float again and used a kick of air and blasted right into him. This caused him to go flying into a building. This fight between us went on for another 10 minutes before Dad fell to his knee. He was coughing hard and recovery girl came over and announced that I had won. They didn't want to risk the students seeing his other form since Dad was starting to steam. Dear God, my son, you really trained float to fit into your current fighting style, Dad stated as he dropped the buff form as Nezu told him the cameras were off. I just walked up to him and carried him in his skinny form. I noticed that he had put a bit more weight on. How long is your time limit currently? I asked him. He thought for a bit. I know I'm starting to lose it. I was pushing 3 hours, but I know I'm down about 10 minutes already. The loss of my power has started. Luckily, you already have your provisional license so you can do hero work and keep the public going whenever we decide to announce my retirement and your existence to the world, Dad stated. Soon we made it to the medical tent where Grandma RG was waiting for us. Time skip. Third POV. We were all back in the class waiting for Aizawa-sensei. He walked in and he announced the results. Those of you that failed the physical will need to do makeup classes. However, everyone will still attend the camp, he stated. He also talked about Izuku finishing his second-year education, which shocked everyone at how far ahead he is. Soon the day came to an end and the students went home. Izuku and his friends decided to go hang out at the local mall though. Chapter 30, Mall and Camp Trip. Third POV. Izuku and his friends decided to hang out at the mall. They wanted to spend some time getting a few things since the camp trip would be coming up in 2 weeks. The camping trip was going to be 2 weeks long and would allow them to train their quirks and try to create new moves for the upcoming provisional license exam that UA wanted the first years to complete, though only Izuku knew about that. While they would be taking the provisional exam, Izuku would be given an attempt at his full hero license since they wanted him to have it before All Might retired. He would still attend UA for the remaining years, but it would allow him to be placed on the ranking like other heroes and start to take over Might Tower officially, which will help ease the public and their fears after they lose the symbol of peace. Soon the mall trip was going great. However, fate seemed to have it out for Izuku. Izuku and his friends ran into the other classmates as well, and they all decided to hang out together. As they were going, they broke off into groups to get their things. Izuku ended up by himself since Uraraka got flustered and left him. I know she has a crush on me, but I'm sorry. I don't like you like that, I thought. As Izuku was walking around by himself, he ran into someone he didn't want to meet. It was Shigaraki. Izuku saw him walking through the mall. He texted Nezu quickly that he saw Shigaraki at the mall and was following him from a distance. As Izuku was following him, he noticed Shigaraki go into a cafe. Izuku decided to walk into the cafe as well and sat at a seat near him, but far enough that he could attack without getting hit by the decay quirk. Hello, hero. I'm glad you followed me as I wanted, Shigaraki stated. Izuku knew he screwed up at that point. What do you want? Izuku asked. Shigaraki just looked at Izuku and smiled. My master wants me to warn you that your time is coming. He will soon make his move and end the war for good, Shigaraki said as he got up and walked out and into a portal. Izuku's blood had gone cold. He just received a declaration of war from AFO. AFO knew he had OFA, and now it was his turn to fight to the death. After about 10 more minutes, the mall was swarmed with police and Nezu arrived as well. They had gotten the UA students together. They were confused about what was happening and then saw Izuku walking over looking a bit pale. I'm assuming Shigaraki already left by your face, Nezu asked, and the students froze a bit after hearing the USJ attacker was here. They looked at Izuku, who didn't answer. He nodded his head and motioned for Nezu to follow him. The detective had arrived as well and followed them both outside of the class hearing range. Izuku Pov. Shigaraki was here to drop a message off. AFO knows I'm the 9th and he wanted his apprentice to come to deliver his declaration of war against me. They wanted to warn me that FO will come after me soon and he will end the 200-year war. I think we should relocate the training camp to a different site at the last minute so they have a lower chance of finding it. We should also consider taking more heroes in the event he decides to attack. There's also the risk of me going and him coming to attack, I stated. Nezu was also worried about these concerns as well. It was decided then that I wouldn't attend the camp to try to mitigate the risk of FO himself attacking the camp. They would also send ectoplasm on the trip so he could use his clones, as well as some local heroes would be staying close by and would check in on a schedule. Time skip. Third POV. The changes to the schedule were made and announced to the students. They were all sad that Izuku wouldn't be attending the camp with them, but he said it was fine. Izuku was set to just train with Gran Torino on campus during the time instead. They would also be preparing for the final fight as well. The day of the trip came and the students of 1A and 1B set off to the camp. Izuku stayed at the school and did his work and trained with Gran Tornio. Overall, All Might and Izuku also did some training since Izuku refused to let his father fight AFO by himself. I refuse to let you die like the other users. If someone is fighting AFO, then it will be us together and not alone. That is what all the past users did. They fought alone and they died, Izuku stated to his father when they were meeting with Nezu, Grand Tornio, and the detective. All Might attempted to object to that, but Izuku wasn't going to have it. If you don't let me come willingly, I can just arrive on site without a plan since I do have my provisional license, remember. So we either plan it out or we don't and I still show up, Izuku said while slamming his hand on the table. He refused to see his father dead. After that, All Might gave up even though he wasn't happy with it. Time skip. Third POV. Soon though news came from the camp. It had been attacked regardless. A Vanguard action squad from the League of Villains had attacked the bus of students and staff from the camp on their return trip, and they had taken Bakugo from the bus. The villains left a message to be delivered. "Let's see if Dekoru will come to save his childhood abuser from us," stated one of the villains. The report stated that there were a few villains that attacked them but didn't see Shijiraki or AFO. As such, they knew that the moment Izuku found Bakugo, it was going to be a trap for him. The students wanted answers about what the villains meant about Bakugo being an abuser. Izuku could tell Kirishima had a good idea of what they meant. He even spoke up and said it was something from Izuku's and Backbro's past that only they should reveal. Izuku decided to tell the truth of his past. As such, after about an hour of talking about it and showing the scars, he finished. "Now, don't start treating him bad. I made sure he was given a chance to become a hero and not have his life destroyed, since the teachers were really the ones that were at fault. He didn't have people that guided him. Do I forgive him? Not really, since he was my best friend who I saw as a brother. However, I won't hate him. I cannot forgive him but also not hate him either. I just know I can't be friends like we used to be. If anything, it will be close allies and basic friendship of knowing and working together, and that's it," Izuku said as some students were pissed at Bakugo. Izuku also explained that even with his path, Bakugo deserved to still be saved and he would go do it even if it's a trap. Shinso had asked the right question though, since Izuku and he has become close friends after Izuku told him about his past a bit after Shinso was bullied that day. "Izuku, why are the villains after you so much?" he asked. Izuku just groaned. "It's going to come out sooner or later, but the villains have a mastermind behind them that is more or less immortal and has been around since the dawn of quirks. This mastermind hates my father, who is All Might. He also hates me because I'm connected to a legacy that he's been trying to kill off for the past 200 years as well," Izuku said. The class was shocked by the truth. Izuku told just enough to not reveal OFA as well. Some asked why he said someone else was his father when All Might was. I still said All Might was my father back then as well. You just didn't know it. Toshinori Yagi is All Might's civilian name. You didn't really think his actual name was All Might, do you?" Izuku asked, and some rubbed their necks. Wow, Izuku thought. Some asked if he was biological or adopted, and Izuku confirmed again that he told the truth about being adopted. "Yay, I'm adopted. Our quirks have some similar things, but as shown lately, I've learned how to use a flying aspect of my quirk. So they are different but have some similarities, and no SHOTO, I'm not a secret love child," Izuku said while yelling the last part at his friend Shoto, with who he has become close friends. Izuku could see the theory notebook in his hands. Soon the conversations came to an end as Izuku had to attend a staff meeting where they were starting to plan out the search for Bakugo and the attack plan. A lot of heroes would be called in for this mission and it would be destructive. Chapter 31, Press Conference and Counter-Attack. Third POV. Izuku and the others that knew about OFA were all in the meeting room together. They even invited Sir Night-Eye to the meeting. Sir Night-Eye and Izuku stood in silence for a bit of time before he spoke. "I must admit that from what I've seen you complete, you are good as a hero. I still wish All Might would have considered Myro at least and met him, but what's done is done," he stated. Izuku was tired of this and just brought him up to speed. "Sir Night-Eye, you don't know how OFA works, do you, or how it's truly passed on?" Izuku asked, and Sir Night-Eye looked offended and explained how he thought it worked. "You are correct, but also that's not all of it. What Dad has failed to tell you is that OFA is sentient. It's the duty of the current wielder to find someone. As they go about their life, and OFA will show itself and declare someone that it likes as the next user. When he found me, or I found him in this case since I saved him from dying to a villain in his skinny form, OFA had shown Dad a vision of Nana, the 7th user. They declared me as someone that was worthy of wielding OFA, and it was Dad's choice in finishing the process and testing my determination on being a hero. We went through that and I obtained OFA years before you even found Myro. As such, there was no way for Mirio ever to be considered Sir Night-Eye," Izuku stated, and Sir was shocked at the new information. Sir asked how he was All Might's son, and Izuku explained what happened and how he gained control of OFA at a fast pace. Sir then bowed his head and apologized to Izuku. "I'm sorry, I didn't know that OFA picked the user like that. I thought it was solely the current user decision and not all the past users as well," he stated, and Izuku just accepted the apology and told them that they needed to move on since he refused to allow his dad to die. As they were all talking in the meeting, it was decided that All Might would go to the factory location that was found by the police while Izuku would go to the bar location. They needed to do this since it was a 50/50 shot of a FO being in either spot. They doubted AFO would go down easily regardless and would need both of them to fight him to have a good chance at winning without major injury. Izuku Pov. There were a lot of heroes called into the battle. A lot of the top 10 was also called in. A few questioned why I was there, but Nezu stated that I had the power to rival All Might and would come in hand fighting the final boss if they show themselves. Some like Endeavor scoffed at my power, but Nezu showed the video from my and Dad's fight and they all shut up quickly. I also have my provisional license already so I can legally be on the field to fight, I stated, and they were also shocked at that. Soon the plans were coming along and it was decided that they would attack tomorrow night. Izuku had an idea that the classmates of his were going to do something stupid but didn't have proof, so he couldn't stop them. Time passed and the conference was set for tomorrow. It would have only been one night and a day for Bakugo being held by the league. I visited my classmates and talked to them a bit before they left school to return home. They were kept on campus for most of the day to be checked over and statements collected before they were allowed to leave. The day and night came and passed, and it was now the day of the operation. As everyone was moving into position, I pulled Sir Night-Eye aside before I left to go to the car that would drive me to my site. "Sir, I want you to use your quirk on me and tell me how your quirk sees this going. I don't believe your quirk is 100% set in stone, but I need a general idea of how the fight ends." I asked him. He was shocked and didn't want to do it, but I asked him again and pressed him for it and he did it. "What did you see? Also, does Dad make it or alive?" I asked him. He said the fight ends in our favor with AFO defeated and dead with the entire league captured. He also said All Might survives the fight, but that he said I would die because I would take a hit that would have killed All Might and a lot of civilians, including the students from 1A. Stop. I don't care if I die tonight. I just wanted to know if they all made it out all right. God, please yell at the students from my class after this for me. Tell them I don't blame them or anything, but they should be careful in what they get themselves into. I stated as I walked away. Sir called out to me, "Wait, this will destroy All Might. Once he finds out, you will die," he stated. I turned around and said, "Don't tell him. I've had this feeling I would die today for some reason before I talked to you." I even created several videotapes that I left in my office here at UA. "Inform Nezu to retrieve them later, would you?" I stated to him and walked away without turning around. I saw Dad as I walked outside and just walked up to him and hugged him. "Dad, I love you. I want you to know that I don't regret any decision I have made or will make. I'm just glad I got to spend all this time with you and become the 9. Thank you for loving me so much," I said to him. He was shocked and confused about why I was talking like that. He just said that nothing would happen to me and it would be all right. He hugged me and he got into his car that drove him to his site. I walked towards mine. "Izuku, what are you planning?" a voice asked from behind me. It was Nezu. I walked over to him and hugged him, not caring others were around that got shocked at what I did. Nezu tensed up since I never do this in front of others. "Goodbye, Uncle Nezu. If fate allows it, then we shall meet again. Sometimes the future can be changed and sometimes it can't be. However, I will try my best to alter it. If I can't, then this is goodbye and I'm sorry," I stated as I walked away into the car. I entered the car and looked at him with a sad smile. Sir Night-Eye came up and Nezu turned to him and Sir just nodded his head since he overheard the conversation. Nezu's mouth opened and closed. He couldn't speak and it was too late since the car had driven away. It was time for the counter-attack. Chapter 32. Bakugo and Students POV. Bakugo's POV. I was sitting in a chair. I was tied up. Why? Why am I tied up? I was trying to regain my memories of what happened because my body was in pain. Soon, I remembered what happened. The bus on its way back to UA was attacked. Then I remembered they were looking for Izuku. They wanted him. However, since he wasn't there, they needed someone to draw him in and they somehow knew of our past. As I was waking up, I saw that I wasn't alone in the room. There were other people with me. When I looked up and figured out who was with me, I had to admit to myself I was a bit scared. The room was full of the League members. You are awake. Good, good. Welcome to the League of Villains bar. We would try to convince you to join us, but I doubt you will. You are here as bait for one Izuku Yagi, the son of All Might, stated Shigaraki. I was confused about what he meant by the son of All Might and they noticed. Seems you don't know yet. He is the son of All Might. He was adopted after his mother died based on what we found out. Though that isn't the reason we are after him. My master wants him because he is the last of a legacy that needs to be killed off before he causes problems for us in the future. Can't let a new symbol of peace be born, Shigaraki stated with venom in his voice. Soon, though, I noticed the TV had turned to a television channel and it had the UA teachers on at a press conference. It sounded like they were talking about me in the league. Some reporters were asking why I was targeted and the school admitted that I was taken to lure in another student but wouldn't comment about who it was. They asked if I had a future after being held by the league and the school defended me without even blinking an eye, saying that I would overcome this experience with the help of the school. Class 1 above. Many of the students in Class 1 were coming up with a very stupid plan. They had been talking about it since the kidnapping of Bakugo. The idea was to hunt down his location and go save him since the heroes were taking too long in their view. The way they were going to do this was because one of the Namus in the bus attack had a tracker placed on it by Yaohirazu, meaning they had the location of at least that Namu. The class hoped that they could find the factory and find Bakugo in it and just grab him and run. Most of the class was a part of this plan, and those that didn't want it to happen still were going to go to try and keep everyone in line. However, none of them realized how impactful their presence would be and how much regret they would come to have at the end of it. The class could be seen walking through the street, and they were all in disguises. They froze when someone called out about its people from UA. They turned around and saw what the person was talking about. They saw their teacher, Principal Nezu, and Vlad King on a stage talking about the attack and the kidnapping of Bakugo. The media was digging into the kidnapping, and the school was taking a hit. The students felt pissed at the attacks on their school. However, they pushed forward and soon arrived at their target. The students were leaning up against a building that Yaohirazu had led them to. It should contain the Namu and hopefully Bakugo as well. As a few of them climbed onto each other to look into the window, they saw the sheer number of Namus inside the building. "Guys, I don't see Bakugo," stated Ashido, who was looking into the window. They were disappointed and were about to leave when the roof was kicked off and part of the building torn away, revealing a lot of heroes. "Oh, shit. They were launching the raid during the press conference. We need to get out of her," Kirishima stated, but was cut off by a large sound. The heroes had just gotten blown away by a man in a suit. They even saw All Might has been knocked away into a building. Did All Might just get sent flying, everyone thought. Bakugo Pov. As the villains were talking about the heroes being bashed, there was a knock on the door. Then someone said they were delivering a pizza. "Wait, that voice is," I thought as the wall was blown down, revealing a lot of heroes and Izuku. The Damn Hands villain attempted to get the warp gate to bring more Namus, but it didn't work. Izuku started to talk to the villains and told them it was over. One hero named Edshot had knocked Kurogiri out cold, while Gran Torino, who was the old guy that Izuku trains with a lot, bounced in and revealed most of the villains' true identities. The old man asked where someone named All for One was, and Shigaraki just screamed in complaint. Suddenly, as Izuku was about to grab me, a portal opened and transferred Namus into the room and outside. Everything became chaos. Izuku went back to trying to grab me, but portals opened and teleported all of the villains and myself out of the room into a new location. The portal was weird, unlike the one done by the Warp Gate user. Soon I saw the destruction in front of me. It was horrible. I saw all of the heroes on the ground, and in the distance, I could see All Might coming out of a building. "Ah, how nice of you to join us, Bakugo. I'm afraid your use is coming to an end, and I will soon win this war and conquer Japan, since the last two people that can stop me will die today," stated the floating villain, whose voice caused so much fear in me. All Might came charging and tried to grab me, but was sent flying back by the villain. Now, All Might. You can't take the kid until Dekaru is here. I want to end this 200-year-old war after all," the villain said. "What is this with a 200-year-old war?" I thought. Soon I could hear a yell from the air as I saw Izuku come flying and, in landing, a kick on the villain's arm and send the villain back and himself back as well. Chapter 33, Final Battle and Regrets. Izuku Pov. As I was sitting in the car being driven to my site, I was thinking about my entire life. I looked back and saw so many different paths that I could have taken if my determination and resolve was just a bit less. I then placed my hand together and thought of my mother. "I'm sorry, Mom. Looks like I will be coming to see you sooner than I thought. I just can't let Dad die when it's my responsibility to end the fight with AFO. Don't hold it against him the next time you see him. He doesn't know that I will die here," I thought. As I looked up, I saw them. I saw the echoes of all of the past users sitting in the vehicle with me. It was one of those armored truck vehicles with many seats in the back. I looked around and thought in my head, "Why are you here?" I asked. The first user looked over to me and said that this was it. "We can feel that this will be the final fight. We feel your determination to win even at the cost of your life. Remember, Knights, you are not alone. We are always with you, and in the end, you shall join us in the land of origin when it's time. However, take this gift from us to help in the final fight," the first user said in my mind as the bald-headed user moved his hand to my forehead and a light appeared. I now had all the information on a quirk called Black Whip and how to use it. Remember, it responds to your emotions. Keep your heart under control and it will respond as you need it to, and remember, you are never alone, stated the bald-head user as they all disappeared. "All expect the 7th. She looked at me with sad eyes and then hugged me. "The moment you give up is the moment you die," she whispered into my ear as she also vanished. It was time now for the fight to start. Time skip. Izuku Pov. I had just left the damn bar since the villains escaped. I left the other heroes to deal with the Namu since I had a guess AFO was with my father right now. I refused to let him die. As I was flying through the air, I saw my father fighting All for One. Then he got knocked away and I came in with a powered-up kick right to AFO's arm, sending us both backward from each other. I also saw Bakugo to my left as I landed. Time to win this, I thought. I could see the news helicopters in the sky above us. Dekaru, good of you to join us. I was wondering when you would show up. Now it's time to end this once and for all, since only you and All Might poses a threat to my existence. AFO said. Dad came in flying and started to punch AFO. I moved over to the villains and Bakugo. I started to take out the League members, but had to keep my power limited due to Bakugo being nearby. After I knocked a few League members out, I heard an explosion of ice above me as I saw a few classmates go flying in the air, yelling for Bakugo to grab on. Bakugo lit up his quirk and went off flying. Some of the villains tried to go after them, but Mount Lady got in their path. One villain got past her though, and I sent out the Black Whip and grabbed him before he could reach the idiot classmates of mine. I knew the others had run away since I saw them to my right side leaving the area, which was good. As I yanked the villain down to the ground, I didn't even care if he got hurt a lot in that attack. I quickly finished up the remaining League members as quickly as I could so they wouldn't escape. After about 5 minutes of dealing with them, since some of them were skilled with their quirks, I changed my attention back to the main boss. It was at that moment I saw AFO power up a large-scale attack and threw it at my father, who had no choice but to take it on since there was a civilian behind him. The world now knew of my father's skinny form. The world came to a stop as everyone was shocked. Third POV. All of the students from One met up a bit off the fighting ground. They could still be seen in the distance and had a visual of All Might's form. They were all silent. What happened to All Might? Some of the students asked out loud. Then they heard the voice of the villain. Pity, isn't it, All Might? You went so many years hiding this state from the public because you were devoting yourself to maintain their fragile sense of peace. Now, you are powerless since you can't use your quirk anymore. It's also time for you to watch as I kill your son, who is the last person in my way of conquering Japan, stated the villain. The class was scared as this person just rendered All Might powerless. You will never win in the end. My master, her master, and so forth until the first master has always stood in your way. We will keep pushing you back into the darkness until the day we defeat you all for one. All Might said as he coughed up blood. People were screaming at him to not give up. All Might stood his ground as Izuku appeared next to him. Rest now. It's my turn, father, Izuku said to All Might, which just revealed himself to the world as the son of All Might. The world was silent. OHH, you've come to die as well, Dekaru. I was planning to kill you regardless, but to come to death itself is amazing of you, yelled the villain as he powered up. An old man could be seen as he grabbed All Might and blasted away toward the students. You kids shouldn't be here, the old man yelled as he came to a stop in front of them and sat All Might down. DEKIRU was being yelled all around them. Seems the brat has a fan base now, the older man said. All Might just laughed a bit and watched the fight. Izuku POV. I had Gran Tornio get dad out of here as I stood off against AFO. We both charged up our attacks and were ducking it out. The destruction from our attacks colliding was massive. More buildings were falling around us due to the shockwaves. I could hear my hero's name being chanted all around me. I felt OFA swell inside me. I activated body control, float, Black Whip, and OFA all at once and started to move faster and stronger. I used the Black Whip to grab things and toss them at AFO. I then used the float quirk to fly and body control to be flexible in my flight and dodging. I needed to get close and personal to him and land as many blows as I could. I'm sure he has shock absorption quirks, but there has to be a limit. Third POV. The world was watching the fight without breaking their eyes away. AFO and Dekaru were going blow for blow. Other heroes attempted to get involved in the fight, but AFO just blew them away each time they tried to get involved. Even Japan's so-called number 2 hero was put down with ease when he tried to get involved. The only thing they did was cause problems for Dekaru, as everyone saw that he had to save them before they got killed, forcing him to waste energy. The fight kept going for 5 minutes when Dekaru saw a chance. He threw a large piece of rubble at All For One and used it as cover to get close. The moment he did, he kicked All For One in the head, cracking the helmet that kept him breathing. The helmet then broke, showing his scared-up face. Damn you, AFO said as he groaned in the pain of losing his mask. He would need to end the fight or he would die to loss of air in such a heavy fight. It's time we bring this fight to an end, AFO yelled as he powered up a mix of quirks that he said was meant to kill All Might, but he would end Dekaru with it instead. Both AFO and Izuku charged at each other with a powerful attack lined up. The world held its breath as the dust settled after the attack. Then they saw it. He did it. DEKIRU did it, yelled the news reporters in the helicopter. Everyone could see All For One on the ground in a crater after the large attack between them. They saw that All For One wasn't moving anymore. He was laying down on the ground with Dekaru near him. Dekaru signaled for the police to get over to him and get him restrained. All Might and the other heroes in Class 1 moved towards Izuku to see how he was. As the police were lifting All For One up, it happened. I refused to die without taking All Might with me to the grave, All For One screamed out as he threw the police and a few heroes off him. Izuku and everyone's eyes widened as All For One powered up one last attack and shot it out towards Class 1 where All Might, Sylvians, and other heroes were standing. The place was powerful as it was tearing up the ground and had the energy that was strong enough to rip through people. Then Izuku remembered Sir Night-Eye's words. Izuku Pov, you will take a hit that would have killed All Might, civilians, and the students from 1A. He stated. I realized as time slowed down for me that it was now. I saw the past users all show up in front of me as they looked at the people in the blast's attack. It's time, they echoed. Then I powered up past 100% as much as I could without destroying my body and appeared in front of everyone, shocking them. I threw my arms up and kept OFA active as high as I could, going past 100%, and had the body control on as well, trying to control my organs and muscles to keep the damage I receive as low as possible. See you on the other side, Dad, I whispered out. However, All Might heard it and so did the others. Their eyes widened even more. As the blast connected with Izuku, it created a bowl-shaped air cone around him that sent the energy above and around everyone behind him. The moment you give up is the moment you die, I heard from Nana again. I attempted to keep my will and determination high as I could, but I knew that I was dead. The energy pushed through my durability that OFA and body control granted me and entered my body. I was feeling the blood starting to pool under my outfit and would drop out at any moment. The attack stopped and the police secured All for One, but it didn't matter. He was announced dead by one of the officers by his body. Everyone heard it. They cheered that I had blocked the attack, but they didn't know. They couldn't know since they couldn't see it. Dad and the others were coming up to me since I haven't moved. Son, you did it. You won, All Might said in a sad tone since he had his guess. Everyone looked at me and was confused about why I didn't move yet. The blood fell down under me. Splash, they all heard. They looked down and saw it. I had a large amount of blood coming from me as I fell to my knees. Son, Dad yelled as he ran to my body. Police, heroes, everyone was running to try and stop the bleeding. I could see Dad crying in front of me. All of my classmates were crying as well. Everyone was crying as it started to rain a bit. The water feels so nice. Please, put me by Mom. I groaned out and started to close my eyes. They all yelled at me to stay awake. I could feel my body being moved. I saw Sir Night-Eye in the distance and his face was pale. At that moment I closed my eyes and went silent to the world. Chapter 34, Aftermath and Reactions. Third Pav. Everyone was waiting to hear news about All Might and Dekaru, the son of All Might. The world was praying for his survival, but no news came. The public was also wanting to know more about the villain and Dekaru's life. UA was on damage control since the entire class 1 was there without permission except for Bakugo and Yagi. Eraserhead was pissed. He wanted to kick them all out for what they have done and possibly aiding in the death of their classmate due to their actions. You could find the teacher in the private waiting room at the hospital yelling, "Do you have any idea what you did? You all can be arrested and thrown in jail and kicked out of UA, which I'm in favor of having you all kicked. Do you understand me? USHOULDn't have been there, and since you were, you shouldn't have stayed that close to the fighting zone." He was yelling non-stop. That was until Sir Night-Eye and Nezu came in. "Stop. Izuku doesn't want them blamed. We had an idea they were going to be there once I used my quirk on Izuku and foresaw his and All for One's death," Sir said. Everyone looked at him. All Might was pissed. All Might, before you get mad at him, Izuku asked him to do it even when he didn't want to. Izuku wanted to make sure you walked away alive. I'm sorry. By the time I knew, he was already in the car leaving and the mission was moving along. I couldn't stop him from walking to this result, Nezu said as he bowed his head. The UA staff and students were shocked because Nezu never bows to others. Soon the room calmed down a bit. "Sir, do you know if he will make it?" Bakugo asked, having some hope since Izuku had arrived at the hospital alive. The staff looked unsure. Sir Night-Eye talked though. "I'm sorry. Unless he can defy his fate, then he will die on the table when his heart stops when the clock strikes 10 p.m., which is in 30 minutes. Sir said, explaining what he saw with his quirk. Sir saw them arriving at the hospital and saw the time the doctors pronounced his death before his quirk cut off. No one knew what to say. The public was wanting answers. They didn't have answers. The world has lost the symbol of peace and it had just lost the new symbol of grace, and now everyone was afraid for the future. Dreamscape Pav. Izuku opened his eyes. He could move and walk just fine. He looked around wondering where he was and what happened. Then he realized where he was. "I'm in One for All. I'm dead," Izuku said with a lone tone. He then started to walk around the place and saw a lot of it was destroyed buildings from the pace and some weren't. It was like it was mixed together from different people's memories. That's because it's the favorite places each wielder liked to spend their time before their death, a voice said from behind him. Izuku turned around and saw all of the wielders. They were all there except his father, whose figure looked like a ghost currently instead of a full body. "That's because he hasn't died yet and entered One for All," stated Nana, the 7th user. "I think it's weird that you can hear my thoughts but I can't hear yours," Izuku said, and they just laughed and said it's for a reason he will know later. Soon they guided Izuku to the place where his memories created a place. It was UA. Soon tears started to fall from Izuku's eyes as he started to cry. "I don't want to be dead. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more. I wanted to fall in love. I wanted to live a long life with Dad without fear of all for one hunting him or me down. Damit. Damit. Izuku yelled out while hitting the ground. The other users looked at him with faces full of sadness. They went through this as well when they had died to all for one. So you give up? The first user said. Izuku was confused. Give up. I'm dead. That's it. There is nothing more I can do. Izuku said out with tears running down his face. He didn't understand. Then the users pulled him up and lead him to a new area. It was his father's area. He could see outside of one for all. Did OFA return to Dad? Izuku asked and they said no. Until the user dies, there will always be a small fragment that stays with them to collect their echo and bring them to OFA. They all looked outside of All Might's OFA and could see everyone in the waiting room and heard Sir Night-Eye explain his quirk vision. It seems you have 30 minutes to return to your body and live. You took a lot of damage but nothing you can't recover from. The problem is that your heart stopped several times which caused you to come here. They keep restarting your heart and it's staying stable currently. However, in 30 minutes you will die for good if you can't return to your body. So I ask you again, do you give up or is your will stronger than this? The first user asked. He explained that it's okay to give up since Izuku had completed his mission for OFA. However, Izuku refused. He wanted to go home. As such, he got to work. The user said he had to convince the sentience of OFA to allow him to leave. As such, Izuku sat down and activated his OFA and felt around inside the dreamscape for the core of OFA. After about 5 minutes of passing, Izuku's body disappeared and appeared in another area. An area of pitch black darkness. It was there that he saw the core of OFA. It looked like a white body with energy radiating off it. Hello, one for all. A pleasure to meet you in person, Izuku said. The energy core turned around and faced him. Then Izuku heard a voice and it sounded like all the users' voices combined. I think the sentience is a mix-up of all the wills of the past users, Izuku said, and it confirmed it. It could read his mind. Since you can read my mind, then you know why I am here then. Please let me return to my body. I wish to do so much more for the world and return to my father who is the 8th user. Izuku asked. The core just asked him why he would return to pain. Why he would return to conflict when he can rest for the rest of the time inside the quirk. Because I will shoulder the pain of the world. I will shoulder their sadness and help brighten other people's days. I've completed the mission we set out to do and stopped AFO. Now, I want to complete my personal mission of being the hero of grace, Dekoru. So will you let me go? If you are the will of all the users combined, then mine is there as well. You should have the desire to complete my personal mission as well. Aren't you unfulfilled like I am of not doing it? Izuku asked the core. The core agreed after thinking. Izuku knew he was cutting this close on returning to his body. Soon he felt light and was disappearing. He then saw the past users wave goodbye and reminded him that he is never alone. Third POV. The doctors were operating on Izuku and had just finished fixing everything they could. It was now all up to Izuku. The doctors watched his heart as it stopped. They attempted to restart it. Again. Time, 10 p.m. 30 date stated one doctor as they started to put everything up. The doctor was going out to inform the family. He arrived in the room and looked at All Might. Everyone knew why he was there and they started to cry. All Might, I'm sorry. At 10 p.m. his heart came to a stop. He was cut off when a nurse yelled for him to get back in the room. His heart started by itself. Doctor, he's still alive, she yelled. The doctor turned around and ran into the room. Everyone in Sir Night-Eye was shocked. He lived, they thought. It was another 30 minutes before the doctor returned. I'm sorry about earlier. His heart stopped several times and we couldn't get it to restart. However, it started on its own and it appears he will make it. There will be a road to recovery, but he should wake up early tomorrow after the drugs work through his system. We have moved him to a different room. You all may enter as All Might allows, the doctor said as he gave All Might the room number and left. Time skip. Third POV. It was 2 months after the final battle that Izuku was able to leave the hospital under his own power. He knew he would have to retain a lot since his body was badly hurt and needed to relax and repair. Even Recovery Girl couldn't speed everything up. The announcement that he was alive had spread like wildfire the night he was moved to a different room. The world was happy that their future symbol has made it. Though Yue had taken a hit in the media, most people didn't blame them much due to Dekoru's involvement in saving the day. The school announced that they would have dorms and would move everyone onto the campus to help keep them more safe. Izuku heard that Eraserhead had ripped into his class and put them all on probation. Izuku wasn't surprised. Time skip. Third POV. 2 years have passed and Izuku had made it to the number 1 hero rank. He had obtained his full hero license in the first semester of his second year. It took him a few months to rebuild some of his muscles and use 100% without strain again. Then after that, he focused on building his reputation and advocating for changes that made it more strict on heroes that committed crimes under the hero name. The Hero Commission came under heavy fire from Izuku and they attempted to threaten him, which didn't go over well when he revealed it to the public. Most of the commission was sacked and redone under Nezu's watch. The hero schools had more say in the commission with public support due to Izuku's rising fame. It was now the era of grace as Dekoru went after villains and heroes for any crime that they committed. Izuku had brought in a higher level of trust in heroes due to his actions. He did receive some hatred from his fellow heroes, but he made a public comment. If they hate me, then it means they might be doing something illegal or something immoral that they know will get them into trouble for the new regulations and guidelines we have in place. These guidelines are in place to stop new dabis, to stop new stains. Crime has reached an all-time low and society is pushing towards more fundamental changes. Quirk usage isn't illegal now when done correctly, and standard quirk licenses are obtained that allow people to use their quirk in their daily lives. Izuku was loved by his classmates as well. They always did carry some guilt for that day he almost died even though he told them not to. One for All hasn't given him any new quirks in the past few years, and his father has retired to just being an assistant teacher at a local school near Tokyo. Overall, life was moving forward as the final battle came to an end and Dekoru came to save the day. And with that, I'll see you all in the next series. For those who are interested, we have a Discord down below. Be sure to aim for the stars and drink plenty of water. And take care until next, we see each other again.